Park Hyun wiped the sweat from his forehead and looked at the broken spaceship in front of him. The old cargo ship had been sitting in Dock 7 for 3 weeks now. Nobody wanted to fix it because it was too old and too damaged. But Hyun needed the work, and the station chief said he could keep whatever parts he found inside. Haven's Rest was not a fancy place. It was a cargo station on the edge of known space, where old ships came to die and poor mechanics came to make a living. Hyun had been working here for 5 years, ever since he left his home planet. He was good with his hands and could fix almost anything. But he was just another human in a galaxy full of aliens who thought his people were nothing special. The cargo ship's name was Lucky Star, but there was nothing lucky about it now. The hull was torn open and the engine room was flooded with coolant. Hyun crawled through the narrow passages looking for anything valuable. Most of the good stuff was already gone, taken by salvage crews or other mechanics. He was deep inside the ship's belly when he saw it. Behind a broken wall panel, something was glowing with a soft blue light. Hyun pushed the metal aside and found a crystal the size of his fist. It was clear like glass but seemed to have stars inside it, tiny points of light that moved and swirled. Hyun had never seen anything like it. He reached out to touch it, and the moment his fingers made contact, the crystal grew brighter. Warm light filled the small space around him, and suddenly he could see things that were not there. Star maps appeared in the air, showing systems and routes that looked familiar but impossible. The maps looked like the drawings his mother used to make in the dirt back on their family farm. Kim Nari had been dead for 16 years now, but Hyun still remembered her stories. She would draw strange symbols and talk about humans being special, about them being bridge builders, who helped connect the galaxy. He had thought they were just fairy tales to help him sleep, but now, looking at the floating star map, he remembered every line his mother had drawn. This crystal was showing him the same things. "What are you doing in there?" a voice called from outside the ship. Hyun quickly grabbed the crystal and shoved it into his tool bag. The light disappeared and the star maps faded away. He crawled back through the passage and found Lee Daeho waiting for him. Daeho was the station's security chief, a big man who did not like humans very much. "Just checking for salvageable parts," Hyun said, trying to sound normal. Daeho looked suspicious. "Find anything good?" "Nothing but junk," Hyun lied. The crystal felt warm in his bag, like it was alive. After Daeho left, Hyun went back to his small apartment and pulled out the crystal. The moment he touched it again, it started glowing. This time, it did more than just show star maps. It projected a course, a set of coordinates that led to a place far from Haven's Rest. Hyun stared at the coordinates for a long time. He had seen them before, in his mother's drawings. She had called it the place where stars are born. He had always thought it was just part of her stories, but what if it was real? The next day, Hyun tried to focus on his regular work, but he could not stop thinking about the crystal. During his lunch break, he went to the station's computer terminal and looked up the coordinates. According to the navigation charts, there was nothing there, just empty space, but the crystal said different. When he held it, he could feel something pulling at him, like a voice calling from far away. It reminded him of his mother's voice, gentle but urgent, telling him stories about humans who built bridges between the stars. That evening, Hyun was working late when Daeho showed up again. This time he was not alone. He brought 2 other security guards with him. "We need to search your quarters," Daeho said. "Someone reported seeing strange lights from the Lucky Star yesterday." Hyun's heart started beating fast. The crystal was hidden in his tool bag, but if they searched everything, they would find it. "I don't know what you're talking about," Hyun said. Daeho smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. "We'll see about that." They searched his workspace first, then his apartment. When they found the crystal, Daeho reached for it with greedy eyes. "What is this?" "Just a pretty rock," Hyun said. But when Daeho touched the crystal, he screamed and pulled his hand back. His palm was burned with red marks where his fingers had been. The other guards tried to grab it too, but the same thing happened. The crystal burned everyone except Hyun. "It's some kind of human weapon," Daeho said, holding his injured hand. Confiscate it. You can't touch it, Hyun pointed out. Daeho's face turned red with anger. Then we'll lock you up until we figure out what it is. But Hyun was already moving. He grabbed the crystal in his tool bag and ran. The guards chased him through the station's corridors. But Hyun knew Haven's Rest better than they did. He had fixed pipes and systems in every part of the station. He made it to the docking bay where the maintenance shuttles were kept. These small ships were used for repairs outside the station, and Hyun had worked on all of them. He jumped into the nearest one and started the engines. "Stop him!" Daeho shouted from the bay entrance. But Hyun was already launching. The shuttle shot out of Haven's Rest and into the darkness of space. He set the navigation system to follow the coordinates from the crystal. As the station fell behind him, Hyun thought about his mother. She had died when he was 12, leaving him alone with only her strange stories and drawings. For years he had tried to forget them, to be normal, to fit in, but maybe normal was not what he was meant to be. The crystal pulsed with warm light in his hands, and ahead of him, the stars seemed to be calling him home. Hyun's small shuttle moved through space toward the coordinates from the crystal. He had been traveling for 2 days now, and his food was running low. The crystal sat on the control panel, glowing softly and pointing the way like a compass. The space around him looked empty. His sensors showed nothing but darkness and distant stars. But the crystal insisted something was here. It pulsed faster as they got closer to the coordinates, like a heartbeat getting excited. Suddenly, the shuttle's engines started making strange noises. Warning lights flashed on the control panel. Hyun tried to fix the problem, but the shuttle was old and falling apart. Within minutes, the engines died completely. He was drifting in empty space with no power and no way to call for help. The crystal's light was the only thing keeping the cockpit from being completely dark. "Great," Hyun said to himself. "I'm going to die out here chasing my mother's fairy tales." But then something appeared on his sensors. A ship was coming toward him, moving fast. Hyun hoped it was a rescue vessel, but when he saw it up close, he knew it was a smuggler's ship. It was painted black and had no official markings. The ship pulled his shuttle into its cargo bay. Hyun waited nervously as the bay door sealed and air filled the space. When the shuttle's door opened, he found himself face to face with a woman pointing a laser pistol at him. She was human, with short black hair and scars on her hands that showed she had lived a hard life. "Who are you and why are you drifting? In the middle of nowhere?" she asked. "My name is Park Hyun," he said, raising his hands. "My shuttle broke down." The woman looked suspicious. "This is empty space. Nobody comes here unless they're running from something. What did you steal?" "Nothing," Hyun said. Then he thought about it. "Well, maybe something, but not what you think." He carefully pulled out the crystal. The woman's eyes went wide when she saw it glowing. "Where did you get that?" she whispered. "You know what it is?" She lowered her weapon. "My name is Captain Jang Mira, and yes, I know what that is. My grandmother had one just like it." Mira led Hyun through her ship to the bridge. It was a good ship, well-maintained and armed for trouble. She was clearly a successful smuggler. "My grandmother used to tell stories," Mira said as they walked, "about humans being more than what we seem. She said we used to be important in the galaxy before we forgot who we were." "My mother told similar stories," Hyun said. "I thought they were just dreams." Mira showed him her own crystal, smaller than his but glowing with the same warm light. "I found this in my grandmother's things after she died. It led me here, to these coordinates. I've been coming to this empty spot for 3 years, waiting for something to happen. But there's nothing here," Hyun said. "That's what I thought too." Mira smiled. "Until now." She pointed to her sensors. Both crystals were glowing brighter, and the ship's instruments were detecting something strange. Space itself seemed to be bending around a point near them. "Another ship is coming," Mira said, checking her scanners. "And it's big." The new ship that appeared was not like anything Hyun had seen before. It was huge and white with curves instead of sharp edges. It looked more grown than built. When it hailed them, the voice that came through was human. "Unknown vessels, please identify yourselves." This is Dr. Seo Junho aboard the research ship Starseeker. Mira answered the call. Soon, Dr. Junho was aboard her ship, and Hyun could see. He was an older man with kind eyes and hands stained from years of digging in ancient ruins. You both have crystals, Junho said, looking at their glowing artifacts. Just like my grandmother's, just like the one that brought me here. He told them his story. His grandmother had been a xenoarchaeologist who spent her life looking for proof that human civilization was older than anyone believed. She had found traces of human technology on worlds that were supposed to be uninhabited before other races arrived. Everyone said she was crazy, Junho explained. But she left me this crystal and told me to follow it when the time was right. 3 days ago it started glowing and showed me these coordinates. The three of them stood together, holding their crystals. The artifacts pulsed in rhythm with each other, and suddenly the space around them changed. What had looked like empty space now showed a planet, blue and green and beautiful, hanging in front of them like it had always been there. Impossible, Mira breathed. It was hidden, Junho said, his voice full of wonder. Somehow, this whole planet was hidden from sensors and navigation systems. They took Mira's ship down to the planet's surface. The world was covered with structures that were clearly artificial but unlike anything in the known galaxy. Massive towers stretched toward the sky, connected by bridges that seemed to float without support. Everything was made from the same material as their crystals. It's beautiful, Hyun said as they landed near one of the smaller buildings. The structures were old, very old, but they were not abandoned. As soon as the three humans stepped onto the planet's surface, lights began turning on inside the buildings. Doorways opened that had been sealed. The whole city seemed to be waking up. It knows we're here, Junho said. It's responding to us. They walked through the nearest building and found walls covered with images and symbols. Hyun recognized some of them from his mother's drawings. The images showed humans working alongside aliens, building great projects among the stars. But these humans looked different from modern humans. They seemed taller, stronger, more confident. In the center of the building was a large crystal, bigger than all of theirs put together. When they approached it, the crystal began to glow, and holographic images filled the room around them. The images told a story. They showed humans as master builders and engineers, creating the jump gates that connected star systems, building the energy networks that powered galactic civilization. These ancient humans had been teachers and helpers to younger races. But something had gone wrong. The images showed conflict, fear, other races becoming afraid of human abilities. Rather than fight, the humans had chosen to leave. They had hidden their cities and sent their children to safe worlds, including a small blue planet called Earth. We're the children, Hyun said, understanding finally. We're the descendants of the people who built all this. The holographic story continued. It showed how the humans had left behind maintenance systems, ways for their descendants to find their way back when they were ready. The crystals were keys, genetic locks that only responded to human DNA. My mother wasn't crazy, Hyun whispered. Her stories were real. We really were bridge builders. Mira was studying the technical displays. Look at this. The planet is artificial. It exists in its own pocket of space, connected to our reality, but separate from it. The technology to do this is beyond anything in the current galaxy. Junho was examining the historical records. According to this, there are other worlds like this one, archive planets where our people preserved their knowledge and culture. But why hide? Hyun asked. Why not just stay and help the galaxy? The answer came in the final images. The younger races had not just been afraid of humans. They had become aggressive, trying to take human technology by force. Rather than see their knowledge used for conquest and war, the humans had chosen exile. They were protecting everyone, Mira realized. They knew that if they stayed, their technology would be turned into weapons. As they watched, the building around them came more alive. Systems that had slept for millions of years began working again. The air became fresher, the lights brighter. It was as if the city was happy to have its children home. But outside, Hyun could see storm clouds gathering. Not weather clouds, but something else. Ships were appearing in the sky above the planet, lots of them. We're not alone anymore, he said. The ships in the sky were not alien warships as Hyun had feared. They were small human vessels coming down to the planet from hidden places. As Hyun, Mira, and Junho watched, dozens of people emerged from the ships and walked toward them. These people looked human, but different somehow. They moved with confidence and purpose, and their eyes held knowledge that seemed ancient. The woman leading them was elderly but strong, with silver hair and a kind face. "Welcome home," she said to the three newcomers. "I am Elder Choi Sunmi. We have been waiting for you." Hyun stared at her. "You live here? On this hidden planet?" Sunmi smiled. "Some of us never left. When our ancestors chose exile, not everyone agreed to go into hiding on distant worlds. A few stayed behind to keep the archives safe and wait for the day when our people would return." She led them through the Crystal City, and Hyun saw that it was not empty at all. Hundreds of humans lived here, working among the ancient buildings and tending gardens that grew between the towers. Children played in the streets, their laughter echoing off the crystal walls. "How many of you are there?" Mira asked. "On this world?" "About 5,000, Sunmi said. "Across all the archive planets? Perhaps 50,000 total. We are the descendants of those who chose to stay and guard our heritage." A young woman approached them, her dark hair tied back and her clothes covered in oil stains. She looked like a mechanic, just like Hyun. "This is Kang Yuki," Sunmi said. "She maintains our city systems. Perhaps she can show you how our technology works." Yuki smiled shyly at Hyun. "You're from outside, aren't you? From one of the lost colonies?" "Earth," Hyun said. "I'm from Earth." Her eyes went wide. "Earth, the first refuge world. We have so much data about Earth in our archives." As they walked, other people joined them. There was Bae Tai-hyung, a young man who worked with the food systems, Yoon Hyun, a woman who studied the ancient records, dozens of others, all eager to meet humans from the outside galaxy. "Your friend," Sunmi said to Hyun, pointing at Junho. "He asked good questions about our history, and your other friend?" She looked at Mira. "She understands our technology quickly. But you are different." "How am I different?" Hyun asked. Instead of answering with words, Sunmi led him to a large crystal formation in the center of the city. It was beautiful, reaching high into the sky like a tree made of light. "Touch it," she said. Hyun placed his palm on the crystal, and immediately the whole city responded. Lights brightened, systems hummed to life, and information flowed into his mind. He could sense every part of the city, every system and connection. It was like the crystal network was an extension of his own body. "Bridge builder," Sunmi whispered. "You carry the deep bloodline. The genetic memory is strong in you." "Genetic memory?" Sunmi nodded. "Our ancestors encoded information in our DNA. Not everyone can access it, but some bloodlines carry it more clearly than others. Your mother, she could access it too, couldn't she?" Hyun thought about his mother's stories and drawings. "Yes, but she lived on Earth. How did she know about all this?" "The memories call to us across the galaxy," Sunmi explained. "Some of our people, like your mother, receive dreams and visions. They remember things they never learned, know places they never visited. We call them memory keepers." She took him to a building filled with records and artifacts. On the walls were drawings identical to the ones his mother used to make in the dirt. "Kim Nari," Sunmi said, reading from an old book. "Born on Earth, died young. Her drawings and stories were recorded by researchers who didn't understand what they were seeing. But we knew. We've been watching for signs of awakening among the lost colonies for generations." Yunho was studying technical manuals with Yuki, trying to understand how the city's systems worked. "This is incredible," he said. "Your power systems are biological as well as mechanical. They grow and adapt. Everything here is alive in some way," Yuki explained. "Our ancestors didn't just build machines. They created partnerships between organic and artificial intelligence. The city thinks and feels." Mira was examining star charts that showed the hidden network of archive worlds. "There are 12 planets like this one?" 13, Sunmi corrected. But one was discovered by the hegemony 50 years ago. We lost contact with it. What happened to the people there? Sunmi's face grew dark. We don't know. The hegemony announced they had found ancient ruins and were studying them, but we never heard from our people again. That evening, the community gathered to welcome their visitors. They shared food and stories, and Hyun learned about life on the hidden world. These people had preserved not just technology, but human culture from before the exile. They sang songs that had been forgotten on Earth, told stories that explained how humans had helped build galactic civilization. We were never conquerors, an old man named Park Jinwoo told them. We were gardeners. We planted seeds of technology and knowledge, then stepped back to let other races grow. But why did the other races become afraid of us? Mira asked. Because we could do things they couldn't, Sunmi said sadly. We could interface with quantum systems directly, build bridges between dimensions, create technology that seemed like magic. Some races wanted to steal our abilities. Others wanted to destroy us to prevent us from becoming too powerful, so our ancestors chose to hide rather than fight. They chose to protect everyone, Sunmi corrected. If we had stayed and fought, our technology would have been turned into weapons. The galaxy would have burned. Hyun spent hours with Yuki, learning how to interface with the city systems. His genetic memory helped him understand things quickly, as if he was remembering rather than learning. Your mother must have been very special, Yuki said as they worked together, to carry such clear memories while living so far from any archive world. She was, Hyun said. I wish she could have seen this place. It would have proved she wasn't crazy. She wasn't crazy, Yuki said firmly. She was a bridge between worlds, keeping the memory alive until you were ready to find your way home. But their peaceful evening was interrupted by alarms. Sunmi came running to find them, her face pale with worry. Ships, she said. Alien ships. They've found us. Through the Crystal City's sensors, they could see a massive fleet appearing in space around the planet. These were not small exploration vessels. They were hegemony warships armed with weapons that could destroy worlds. How did they find us? Junho asked. Sunmi looked at Hyun, Mira, and Junho with sad eyes. You were followed. The crystals that brought you here also sent signals that the hegemony could track. Admiral Kojiwan's voice came through the communication system, broadcast from the lead warship. Humans of the archive world, you will surrender immediately. Your illegal technology and unauthorized civilization are violations of galactic law. Prepare for inspection and relocation. Relocation? Mira said. Slave camps, Sunmi said quietly. They want our knowledge, but they don't want us to remain free to use it. Hyun looked around at the beautiful Crystal City, at the people who had preserved human heritage for millions of years. He thought about his mother's stories, about bridge builders who connected the galaxy. We have to fight, he said. With what? Sunmi asked. We are peaceful people. We have no weapons. But Hyun was touching the great crystal again, feeling the city's systems respond to him. Through the network, he could sense something vast sleeping beneath the planet's surface. Not weapons, but something else. We don't need weapons, he said, understanding flooding through him. We need to wake up what our ancestors left behind. In space above them, the hegemony fleet was preparing to attack. But below, in the deep places of the archive world, ancient systems were stirring to life. Admiral Kojiwan stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking down at the impossible planet that had appeared from nowhere. His fleet of 200 ships surrounded the world, ready to take whatever technology the humans had hidden here. Sir, his communications officer said, the humans are not responding to our surrender demand. Then we make them respond, Ko said. He was a veteran officer who had fought in many campaigns. To him, humans were useful workers, but nothing more. The idea that they might have advanced technology was both exciting and dangerous. On the planet, below, Hyun stood with his hands pressed against the great crystal, feeling power flow through the ancient network. The city's systems were waking up after millions of years of sleep, but they were still sluggish and confused. The defense systems are too old, Yuki said, studying the readings. They need time to remember how to work. Time we don't have, Mira said, watching the hegemony ships on the monitors. Sunmi gathered her people in the crystal chamber. We knew this day might come, she told them. Our ancestors prepared for it. Prepared how? Junho asked. Show him the deep archives, Sunmi said to Yuki. Yuki led them down passages that went far below the city, to chambers that even the colony's children had never seen. Here, the walls were covered with technical diagrams and star charts that hurt to look at directly. These are the maintenance protocols, Yuki explained. When our ancestors left the galaxy, they didn't just hide. They left behind systems to keep galactic civilization running. Hyun stared at the diagrams, and through his genetic memory, he began to understand. The jump gates, the power networks, the communication systems. We built all of it. And we've been maintaining it remotely for millions of years, Sunmi said. The other races think their technology runs itself, but it doesn't. We've been quietly fixing problems, updating systems, keeping everything working. Why? Mira asked. Because if galactic civilization collapsed, billions would die, Sunmi said simply. We couldn't let that happen. On his ship, Admiral Ko was growing impatient. Fire a warning shot at their city, he ordered. The flagship's main gun fired a beam of energy that struck one of the crystal towers. But instead of destroying it, the beam was absorbed. The tower glowed brighter, and energy flowed through the network to other parts of the city. Sir, the weapons officer said nervously, our shot made them stronger. Ko frowned. What kind of technology is this? Below, Hyun felt the energy from the attack flow into the crystal network. It was like feeding power to a starving machine. More systems came online, and suddenly he could sense beyond the planet. Through the ancient network, he could feel the pulse of every star system in the galaxy. Jump gates, power stations, communication relays, all connected by quantum threads that the humans had woven long ago, and all of it was slowly failing. The network is breaking down, he said, his voice filled with wonder and alarm. Without active maintenance, the whole system will collapse within a generation. That's why the crystals brought you here now, Sunmi said. The awakening has begun because the galaxy needs us again. Admiral Ko sent down assault ships filled with soldiers. But as they entered the planet's atmosphere, strange things began to happen. Their weapons stopped working, their communications died, their ship's engines began to fail. What's happening? Ko demanded from his bridge. Unknown, sir. It's like the planet is rejecting our technology. That's exactly what it's doing, his science officer said, studying the readings. The entire planet is generating some kind of field that interferes with our systems. The assault ships crashed harmlessly into the Crystal City's energy barriers. The soldiers inside were unharmed, but trapped in vessels that no longer worked. Hyun could feel everything through the crystal network. The planet's defenses were not weapons in the traditional sense. They were systems designed to protect and preserve, turning attacking forces harmless rather than destroying them. This is what our ancestors meant, he said to the others. They didn't build weapons. They built solutions. But Admiral Ko had more ships and more weapons. If small attacks don't work, we'll use the planet killer, he said. His flagship began charging its most powerful weapon, designed to crack planets open and strip mine their cores. The energy buildup was visible as a bright glow around the ship's main cannon. He's going to destroy the whole world, Mira said, watching from the city. No, Hyun said, his hand still on the great crystal. He's going to give us exactly what we need. Through the galactic network, Hyun reached out to systems throughout known space. Jump gates that had been running quietly for millions of years suddenly demanded attention. Power stations that fed entire star systems began shutting down for maintenance. Communication networks that connected thousands of worlds went silent. Puntil. Hundreds of planets, alien governments found their technology failing. Ships couldn't jump between stars. Cities lost power. Military communications went dead. What did you do? Admiral Ko demanded, as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Hyun's voice came through the communication system. carried by the ancient network to every ship in the fleet. I reminded the galaxy who built their civilization. You're sabotaging our infrastructure. No, Ian said calmly. I'm showing you what happens when the bridge builders stop working. On Ko's bridge, the science officer was reading incredible data. Sir, the power fluctuations are coming from systems we thought were natural. Jump gates, energy networks, even our ship's quantum drives. They're all connected to some kind of maintenance network we never knew existed. Impossible. It's not just possible, it's happening. According to these readings, human-built systems have been quietly maintaining our technology for millions of years, and now they're all asking for direct human oversight. Through the network, Hyun could feel the weight of galactic civilization pressing down on him. Billions of beings depended on systems that were breaking down. He could fix them, but it would require full activation of the human network. If I do this, he said to Sunmi, there's no going back into hiding. I know, she said. The question is, are you ready to be what your ancestors were? Admiral Ko fired his planet-killer weapon, but the massive energy beam was absorbed by the Crystal City, just like the smaller attack had been. This time, though, the absorbed energy was enough to fully activate the ancient systems. Light flowed through quantum channels to every corner of the galaxy. Jump gates that had been failing for centuries suddenly worked perfectly. Power networks that had been struggling began operating at full efficiency. Communication systems became clearer and faster than they had been in living memory. And on every world, in every system, alien governments received the same message. The bridge builders have returned. Galactic infrastructure will now require direct human oversight. Please prepare for new maintenance protocols. Ko stared at his communications screen in disbelief. What are you people? We're who we've always been, Hyun answered. We're the ones who keep the galaxy running. But even as victory seemed certain, Hyun felt something troubling through the network. Other ships were coming, more fleets from races that had been waiting for this moment. Not all of them wanted human help. Some of them wanted war. The news spread across the galaxy faster than any ship could travel. The humans were back, and they controlled every piece of technology that kept civilization running. Some species celebrated. Others prepared for war. Hyun stood in the crystal chamber, feeling the weight of billions of lives through the ancient network. Every jump gate, every power station, every communication relay was calling for attention. The systems had been running on automatic for so long that they had forgotten how to work properly. It's like trying to fix a million broken machines at the same time, he said to Yuki, who was helping him understand the network's controls. That's exactly what it is, she said. Our ancestors built everything to be self-maintaining, but without human oversight, the systems have been slowly degrading for millions of years. Admiral Ko's fleet was still surrounding the planet, but now his ships were completely dependent on human-controlled systems just to stay in space. His weapons were dead. His engines only worked because Hyun allowed them to work. This is Admiral Ko Ji-won, came his voice through the communication system. I request permission to speak with your leaders. Sunmi smiled at Hyun. That would be you now. Me? I'm just a mechanic. You're a bridge builder, she corrected. And right now, you're the one connected to the network. Hyun opened a channel to Ko's ship. This is Park Hyun. What do you want to talk about? Your people have taken control of our technology without permission, Ko said, trying to sound official. This is an act of war. No, Hyun said patiently. This is an act of maintenance. Your technology was about to fail completely. We're fixing it. Through the network, he showed Ko the truth. Data flowed to the Admiral's screens, showing how jump gates had been operating at only 60% efficiency, how power networks were losing energy to quantum decay, how communication systems were filled with errors that had been building up for centuries. You're saying our entire civilization was about to collapse? Ko asked quietly. Within 50 years, Hyun confirmed. Maybe sooner. The only reason it lasted this long was because we never really left. We've been maintaining your systems remotely, but remote maintenance can only do so much. Mira and Junho were monitoring reports from across the galaxy. Governments were demanding answers. Some wanted the humans to fix their systems immediately. Others wanted to know why humans had been secretly controlling their technology. The Zentari Empire is mobilizing their fleet, Mira reported. They think this is a human invasion. The Corvin Republic is asking for technical assistance, Junho added. Their jump network has been failing for years. Through the crystal network, Hyun could sense the approaching ships. Hundreds of vessels from dozens of species, some coming in peace and others ready for war, all of them converging on the hidden planet. We need to show them we're not conquerors, Sunmi said. Our ancestors chose exile rather than rule. We must do the same. But Hyun was looking at the deep technical data flowing through the network. There's something else, he said. The reason our ancestors really left, it wasn't just because other races were afraid of us. He shared what he was seeing through the crystal interface. The ancient records showed the truth about the Great Exodus millions of years ago. We were killing the galaxy, he whispered. Our technology was too advanced, too powerful. We were accidentally disrupting the natural evolution of space-time itself. The records showed how early human technology had begun to tear holes in reality, how their quantum manipulations had started to unravel the fabric of existence. The ancestors had not fled because they were afraid of other races. They had fled because they were afraid of what they themselves might destroy. So they developed new technology, Yuki said, understanding. Systems that worked with natural forces instead of against them. Technology that healed instead of harmed. That's why the network can absorb energy attacks, Hyun realized. Why our defenses turn weapons into power sources. Everything is designed to transform destruction into creation. The first of the alien fleets arrived in the system. The Zentari Empire's ships were massive and heavily armed, designed for conquest. Their leader, Commander Thane, broadcast a message to the planet. Humans, you will surrender control of galactic technology immediately, or we will destroy your world and take it by force. Hyun sighed. Through the network, he could feel the Zentari ship systems calling for maintenance. Their weapons were overheating, their shields were failing, their engines were running on backup power. Commander Thane, he said, opening a channel, your ships are about to lose life support. Would you like me to fix that first, or should we keep arguing while your crew suffocates? There was silence from the Zentari ships. Then, reluctantly, fix it. Hyun channeled energy through the network to the Zentari vessels. Their systems came back online, running better than they had in decades. Environmental controls stabilized, weapons cooled down, engines ran smoothly. How did you do that? Thane demanded. I fixed your ships the same way I fix everything else, Hyun said. By remembering how it's supposed to work. More fleets arrived. Throughout the day. Each time Hyun demonstrated the same thing. Human technology was not about control or conquest. It was about healing and maintenance. When ships arrived with hostile intent, he fixed their systems instead of destroying them. By evening, representatives from 50 species had gathered in the space around the planet. They all wanted the same thing, to understand how human technology worked and how they could access it. You cannot have our technology, Sunmi told them during the first diplomatic meeting, held through the communication network. But you can have our help. What's the difference? Asked Ambassador Vec from the Corvin Republic. Hyun answered from his position at the Great Crystal. The difference is partnership. Our ancestors tried to give other races their technology directly, and it nearly destroyed the galaxy. This time we work together. He shared his vision through the network. Humans would return to their role as bridge builders but not as rulers. They would maintain the galactic infrastructure, teach other species how to work with quantum systems safely, and help develop new technologies that enhanced natural processes instead of fighting them. And in return? Commander Thane asked suspiciously. In return, you let us do what we've always done, Hyun said. Connect the galaxy, help it grow, keep it running. Admiral Ko, who had been listening quietly, finally spoke. What about independence? Sovereignty? Each species controlling their own destiny? You'll have more independence than ever, Hyun promised. Right now, your entire civilization depends on systems you don't understand. We'll teach you how they work, help you build your own versions, show you how to maintain them yourselves. Eventually, You won't need us at all. And then, you'll leave again? Hyun thought about his mother's stories, about bridge builders who connected worlds and then stepped back to let life flourish. If that's what the galaxy needs, then yes, but this time we won't hide. If you need help, you can ask for it. The negotiations took weeks. Some species accepted the new arrangement immediately. Others needed time to understand that humans were offering partnership, not domination. A few, like the Zentari, remained suspicious and hostile, but gradually the galaxy began to change. Human engineers worked alongside alien technicians to repair and upgrade ancient systems. Jump gates that had been unreliable for centuries began working perfectly. Power networks became more efficient. Communication improved across all species. Hyun found himself traveling between worlds, teaching others how to interface with quantum systems safely. Everywhere he went, he carried his mother's crystal and told her stories. The fairy tales that had once seemed impossible were now the foundation for a new kind of galactic civilization. On Earth, he visited his mother's grave one last time before taking up his permanent role as a bridge builder. The small stone marker seemed inadequate for someone who had carried the genetic memory of an entire species. "You were right about everything," he told the quiet grave. "We really were special. We really were meant to connect the stars." The wind stirred the grass around the grave, and for a moment, Hyun could almost hear his mother's voice telling him stories about humans who built bridges between worlds. Years later, when the new galactic infrastructure was running smoothly, and other species had learned to maintain their own systems, Hyun would still visit that grave. He would tell his mother about the stars he had connected, the bridges he had built, the species he had helped. And sometimes, late at night when he was working on some distant repair station, he would remember her drawing star maps in the dirt and know that her dreams had finally come true. The bridge builders had returned, not as conquerors or rulers, but as what they had always been meant to be: gardeners of the galaxy, planting seeds of connection and stepping back to watch them grow.